sun.
Oh, right.
Good morning, all.
Good morning,
So levels.
Dave.
Bubba
to blame you for that.
Bubba didn't do it.
Let's see. You said to go
Oh, where's my headphones?
righty tighty.
Yeah, you don't want an S curve in it though.
That
But
can't be right.
maybe it'll work. I don't know. We'll see.
So I left my mouse here, right?
Yeah,
And then I lost it yesterday. It's like my mouse just doesn't want
your mouse is
to
running away.
anymore.
So maybe I just hit it. Okay,
Maybe so.
that's too close.
Yeah, you don't want it to scrape, but it probably won't make too much noise. It won't be like some of the other.
Okay.
That's cool.
Okay, so
So I'm good with if you guys want to. If I do just a little lead in on what we talked about last week, delineating differences, but this week we want to talk about what it is. And then I'll sort of launch it out and let you guys actually jump with the discussion, and I'll be in it. But if you want me to sort of intro it that way,
That's
well,
great.
and I'll cut in right after that because I have a comment about. Okay, can you hear me? I can't hear myself.
You're muted.
Oh, okay. Here we go. I have a comment about kind of because people, what's the difference between good content and copy?
Switch your mic on. If you would.
That's why. Okay,
There you go. I'm like,
Hey,
am I on?
you're on.
Am I good? Okay.
yeah.
Wait a minute. First, I want to talk Josh. This is Josh Muccio responding.
Taking his time.
You
Yeah,
sound
you can-
great.
yeah.
You sound terrific. No offense. He sounds the best of the three of us.
He does. He's got a great voice.
He really does.
It's true.
My wife thinks I need to talk faster.
Wives can be the toughest ones.
Well, you got to forgive me because when there's a gap, sometimes I jump in it.
So
so,
not only that, both Dave and I are fast talkers.
we need that.
well, that's okay. But if you're actually going to say something, I don't want to preempt you because you pause.
You're actually going to talk on this podcast.
Yeah, you're like no.
If you're gonna quit pausing all the time.
That's not exactly what I mean. I mean, that's partially what I mean. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, what I see, here you go again. But so difference between website copy and content is king, I believe, is helpful content. It's your mindset when you're writing it. You're either writing something to sell somebody, which is a no-no. I mean, I think we would all agree that when you're
Unless it's a
content-
sales letter, in which case you better be writing to sell.
Yeah, but that's copy. That's writing to your audience and writing to the different But if you're talking about content is king, it's really helpful content is king. Something you're giving away for free to help people. And then content marketing is how do you create that into a strategy that brings in leads to your website or business or Facebook page or however you're doing it.
And we should talk about content that you give away versus content that you. And did we get into that last week at all? Like
No.
top of the funnel stuff versus
Yeah.
pieces of content that you.
See, but you can't just say top of the funnel.
Well,
We'll
and
have
we
to
need to explain
explain
it.
it.
Agreed. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
So I mean, it sounds like this podcast is going to go into here's what content
I think
marketing is, but we're also going to have to talk about content marketing strategy.
Yes,
because
I think we have to. We
if
just,
we're helping business owners
Right.
create.
to a degree, I think we just need to keep it a little bit at 30,000 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. But I also think we've got to be careful to at least provide some takeaway every episode. Like someone who, okay, I get the 30,000 foot level and I'm listening at that level and I'm learning something, but I also want to be actionable in some way. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Well, and my wife's feedback from last week was, okay, the last half was where I really started to get some great
oh, good. Okay.
stuff because we started bringing in
So
the
then
group
let's
tool.
just start this one with the second half.
We could just skip the first half. Yeah. I mean, let's just skip it.
Okay, so order. When does the brew of the week come in?
Should we do it at the beginning or the end?
I think at the beginning, if we don't spend too long,
Okay, so we do it quickly.
because that's like chronological
I think
order
it
of
gets
life.
us kind of in the flow, talking about something lighthearted, and then we can move on from there.
I like it.
I just think we don't want to spend very much time on it.
All right.
Just a little bit.
So do we do it before you do your intro of the topic?
Mhm.
Okay,
As long as we're in the topic, we're in the topic.
agreed. There is more, by the way, Josh, in the sink.
I was heading that way.
Yeah. There's not a lot, but there is some left.
Sorry, Rod. I can't take a lot.
Are you going to finish it?
You want more?
No. Why would I want more?
I have. There's enough left in here. You want more?
I'll split it with you.
Yeah.
Is there enough to split? I wouldn't have thought that. Okay.
I mean, it's not, you know.
Check 1, 2. I'm gonna just do a volume check.
Oh, Lisa.
What?
Did you already get yours?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right. So
Oh,
hopefully
yeah.
I'm hyped up on brain juice.
And caffeine. So it should be great.
Welcome to this episode of the Growth Show, where we are always hyped up on coffee and life in general.
And life in general. And life in general.
Absolutely.
And the CDC.
Not the EDC. We gotta be careful with that one. Okay. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna try to not have to restart like I did last week. That was kind of amusing. Okay.
Restart.
Yeah.
Oh,
I goofed up inaugural.
I don't even remember.
I think it'd be a tricky word.
It can be. Okay. Here we go. All right. Welcome to episode 2 of the Growth Show. Thought I'd do that loudly in your ear, Josh. David Johnson here, along with Rod Thompson, 25-year veteran journalist, published author. Great stuff to say about you, Rod. I called you a wizard last week, and then it ended up being an old wizard. So I don't want to do that again. But you do help businesses with PR communication. So you've kind of joined the other side, actually.
A little bit, yeah. Turns out there's that balance to the other side.
All right, and Josh Muccio, entrepreneur, whiz kid, technology guy, all around genius. How's that?
Sounds good. I'm the next Facebook.
You're the next Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg.
I'm so glad I know you right now.
I'm investing in Josh Muccio this moment.
Absolutely.
I'm going public.
Well, he's already flipped one business, so you never know what's coming next.
True.
I didn't flip it. I grew it.
Well, you grew it and then you sold it. I mean,
Excellent point.
people like that idea because now you're moving on to the next thing, man. You're a
Well,
serial
yeah.
entrepreneur.
But I don't flip businesses.
No, okay, all right. So you don't flip businesses and you don't make cereal. Okay, so that's good.
No.
So, all right, the brew of the week this week, we better do this early because people will want to know why we're talking at such a higher rate of speed as compared to last week. The brew of the week this morning is kind of a bulletproof thing because we mixed in MCT. And I always laugh at that because I think of the movie Limitless where there was AZT, the clear pill. I know you haven't seen it yet. Rod, you got to see this movie.
Okay.
You'll understand why I keep wanting to do that. But anyway, the MCT is a brain oil, some sort of extract from coconut oil.
Yeah, medium chain triglycerides.
That's it.
That's what it stands for.
Contain 6 to 10 carbon fatty acid esters.
Okay.
Esters. Okay.
And apparently it's 18 times more potent than just regular coconut oil, which is what it's derived from.
Yes.
So if you're wondering what this has to do with coffee, so the theory is you take the brain oil, you pour it in your coffee, then you take unsalted, preferably grass-fed butter. Yes, I said butter.
Mm-hmm.
And you blend it with the brew.
Kerrygold, if you need help finding it.
Kerrygold's great because you can buy it at many local grocery stores, or you can go like truly out to the raw dairy that sells the raw milk, and they're probably going to be arrested, and get yourself some butter that way. But so I blend it into the blender. I know some people use like a little bullet thing, magic bullet or whatever. You can do it different ways.
You do the blender.
You do the blender. Yeah, so you just emulsify, and what ends up happening is the butter and the coconut oil get whipped up together with the coffee, and you end up with something kind of frothy and foamy. And
It actually tastes delicious. And theoretically, it makes you smarter. So couldn't hardly do better than that.
And I will add, although I don't think this is part of the Bulletproof Coffee pitch, the unsalted butter and the coconut oil both provide you with good quantities of vitamin A and vitamin D, which are really, really good for your brain and for like your teeth and your bones and all sorts of other good stuff. So,
Well, and what I've heard is you can actually drink it in the morning and not eat breakfast or lunch. Well, no, you can eat lunch later. But it's supposed to be filling, give you an extremely focused morning, and you can actually lose weight by not eating breakfast.
interesting.
I don't understand the sentence "not eat breakfast." I mean, I know the individual words. I just don't know what they mean together.
Right? That concept is foreign to you.
Completely.
Yeah, I haven't had breakfast this morning. This is my
See,
breakfast.
I still don't know what you're saying. there.
Butter and MCT oil.
I rarely eat breakfast. I really have to try to eat breakfast, and I know I should because it like starts the metabolism and
That's
stuff.
from Earth.
That's a true entrepreneur right there. You don't even eat.
I forget to eat, man. I'll be working at my desk and it'll be like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'll be like, oh, lunch happened. Like I didn't do lunch.
It is sad because I love food, but
I love food. I'm just focused, I guess. I don't know.
I'm focused too, but apparently I'm focused on food a little more than you guys are.
My wife can't figure that out. She's like, I have never forgotten a meal. I mean, I've skipped a few for, like fasting or whatever, but I'm like, forget
So,
no.
if you want to learn more about Bulletproof Coffee, Dave Asprey is the guy's name, or do a Google search for Bulletproof Coffee recipe. You'll see plenty of YouTube videos of people sharing their enhancements for the Bulletproof Coffee
They're
recipe.
usually hopped up.
Yeah.
Yes. So this is the first time I've tried the MCT oil. I've been doing the butter and actual coconut oil, which I just blend the same way. And this tastes remarkably less coconutty with the MCT instead, right? Because it's just the extract or whatever. So anyway, that's our brew of the week.
And you can tell us whether it worked at the end of this podcast.
I'm feeling it already, can't you tell? And Josh, you brought some 8 o'clock beans this morning, which were delectable and tasty. So thank you for that.
Yes.
To go with the
I think
bulletproof.
with 8 o'clock, we might have just lost our coffee snob moniker. I could be wrong, but
Yeah. Well, you
I had to use it up so
kind of made fun of me for brewing
yeah, it's
Starbucks.
true, we started off not coffee snobs, didn't we?
We did, and
And then
then
when you go from Starbucks to
we can only
but then
improve from here.
he walked in with a bag of 8 o'clock, and I'm like, huh.
see, I would have put Starbucks as a step up from 8 o'clock myself, but
So
what do I know?
So now we know, Rod, that Josh
Yeah.
brings the stuff he has to use up.
Yeah.
You know,
well, we knew he's practical.
I think he's banned from bringing the brew. Other than the MCT oil, you can bring that back anytime. Fair enough. Okay. All right. So, Rod, last week we had a good time. I enjoyed the argument over content marketing. That was kind of amusing. But we spent a lot of time talking about what content marketing isn't while we spoke about content. And I think we might have some, forward progress we need to make for the sake of, someone trying to figure out what the heck do I do next.
I was right.
Right. So, wow, that is not what I got out of last week's podcast, but we'll let the listeners go ahead and decide. Right. So last week we talked about delineating the differences really between content overall for your company, which is content is king, and content marketing, which is a subset of content. And so content overall is the written, video, audio, visual, all these elements of your business that make up the full message about your company.
Don't forget the brochure, because you went all like old school with this last
Yeah,
week.
and because I'm just telling you, we're podcasting, we got all this techie stuff. People use brochures.
I'm going to
and
take your word for that.
They do, and they use them effectively, and I know it's effective because they keep wanting more.
Okay.
So,
You know
that's the market saying, hey, this is working for me.
I make brochures too. They say, go to my website.
Go to my website.
They have
And-
QR
and then
codes
you
in
have
them.
the QR code. You know what? The brochures, I make have QR codes in them.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Hey, listen, I'm all in favor of mixed media. If we can do multiple media in a
Right.
given campaign and
Right.
drive people back to the site.
Absolutely.
If I can distribute a brochure that gets me an email address,
Right.
I'm all in favor of that.
Right. And so there's certainly a place there. So all those things make up the content for your company, the message for your company, the story your company is telling about itself, etc. Content marketing is a whole, not a different animal, but it's a whole subset of that in which you are taking that message and you are, in some senses, giving it away to create what we sometimes call inbound marketing, but bringing in leads, bringing in people coming to you because of what you're giving away, whether blogs or that sort of thing. And I wanted to sort of then launch it out there for us to discuss from that point. And we'll try and stay on point with content marketing this week. And we'll let content go, and we'll stick to talk a little bit about what a small business can do to improve their content marketing, actually create content marketing if they don't want to hire a marketing director, and maybe they're not even in a place right now where they can hire somebody like us.
Sure.
But they want to improve and take their content marketing to the next level or start it. But they're saying, I keep hearing this. I don't know what this is. All I know is I'm a plumbing company and I want a lot more customers and I don't know how to get it, but I'm pretty sure this interweb thing is important to that.
Interwebs. You
Right.
mentioned a concept though that I think is really important. We should spend a little time on this, because you said inbound marketing. I'm not sure a lot of people even know what we mean by that. If the real value to a business is this: do you want to have to go find your customers, or do you want your customers to be a pathway to your door? And that's what we're talking about: is creating a set of tools, of a campaign, maybe multiple campaigns. But the end result is the customers are seeking you out. You're not going out trying to find them. you may spend money in a way that would be classified as advertising, but you're not advertising in order to get customers.
Right.
It's
So
like a word of mouth on steroids.
Exactly.
exactly right. And so yeah, outbound I think is your traditional old school. You have display ads in the newspaper, you run ads on television, that sort of thing. You're sending your
Telemarketing.
message out there and
Right.
all. Inbound marketing is you're just doing stuff. In fact, this podcast could be considered inbound marketing
Absolutely.
for us. So this is one out. There's a ton of blogs that are a very common way, in a simple way, and you guys can get into blogs too for inbound marketing, where you're just putting out content for free that's valuable, that's useful. But then a certain number of people that look at that are going to say, you know what, I want to use their services. And so for the plumbing guy, he might be giving tips each week on, you know, how to help. You know, this is all right. You got a problem with your drain? Here's something you can try. You got a problem? Here's some things. Here's some proactive things you can do to avoid problems. You know, watch for this. Copper pipes, they're a problem, etc. So they do that weekly, and then if somebody is actually finding some of that interesting, they have a plumbing problem, they call a plumber. That's the inbound side of it. That's a form of content marketing right there.
I mean, I think the most holistic, if you just look at what is content marketing for the small business person, it is answering the questions that your customers are asking. Don't answer them on the phone. Answer them before they even call you. And they'll call and they'll say, hey, can you come over to my house? They won't even ask any questions about your business. They'll already know and trust you because of the content you put out.
So you're talking about building credibility, building trust. But I think businesses get stuck on this idea of, okay, I'm going to create content, I'm going to write blogs, I'm going to answer questions. But really, we should back up a step. Because before a business even engages in creating content, they really need to know who they're writing for, who their content is for, right? And I get this a lot. We get businesses that say, well, we serve anybody, you know, like the classic life insurance, you know, salesman who goes, yeah, anybody who's got a heartbeat, man, I'm selling them life insurance. That's no. You need to know who the best buyers for your customer or for your future customers, you know, who the best buyers for your products and services are. You need to know a lot about them and understand what keeps them up at night. What is it that not just the questions they're asking about your products and services, but what's going on in their world? What's important to them? What do they care about? Because a lot of this, at the end of the day, you know, there are people who are cranking out content and they're not getting any results out of it. Yeah. And this does happen. You know, people, they might write blogs, they might do Facebook posts, they might do Twitter and lots of other different things, and there's no inbound happening, right? So you don't want to get caught in that trap. You don't want to be talking to just any and everybody. Narrow it down and figure out who your best customer is. So, for example, Rod, you know, you mentioned the plumber. And we have a real plumber we could talk about who you referred to us,
right.
You know, a couple years back. And believe it or not, Bubba writes his blog post once a week. Man, this guy is cranking out blog
and they have
posts.
seen results.
Is it Bubba's blog?
No, it's Wimpy's Dependable Plumbing, but Bubba is the owner.
This is a rural Florida plumbing outfit, and I've known them for years and years. Great people. I would plug them in a heartbeat.
I love them. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I really do. And but Bubba is cranking it. Bubba Butler. And he writes, you can't make this stuff up, man. And I love this guy, I really do. His dad's name was Wimpy, and that's where the name of the company came from. But I mean, he is just like clockwork once a week. He cranks out a blog post, usually on Monday mornings. It'll get published. And he's doing a great job of writing. And he does exactly this, you know, how to fix a leak. You know, here's what we found in a drain. I mean, I'm looking through his tips on buying an older home. Here's one of the things that Bubba has to think about, right? Because he's a plumber. You might think, well, anybody who has pipes in their house or a faucet or a shower is a customer, but that's not really true. Really, the only people who hire plumbing services are people who own their home. Am I right?
Right.
That's true.
You know,
Right.
and if you think about it, who makes the buying decision for a plumber? Who pays? Who's the one who selects which plumber we're going to use in the household, typically? Any ideas?
Well, I know who does in our household, but I'm guessing that it's the opposite.
Oh, you do it in your
I
household?
do.
You do it.
I do.
You're the exception.
Okay.
Yeah, you are. Now, if it's a techie problem, like, hey, there's a leak and I'm trying to sort it out, I might be the one in the house that's going to Google that thing and try to figure it out.
Right.
So I might break the rule in that regard too. But when it comes right down to making the decision, oh yeah, Mama is selecting the plumber.
Okay, so this is so interesting because actually on that very point, my wife would be the opposite. She would be the one that would be quicker to Google something. Hey, I wonder if I can just fix this. She's kind of amazing.
Does she have power tools?
She can do a lot. I have power tools, and she is not afraid to use them.
All right, I like it. I like it. So I guess my point is that you're not writing for people who rent their home or live in an apartment. You're writing, if you're Bubba, right? You're writing instead for people who own their homes because they're the ones who are going to make a buying decision to hire you as a plumber. So that's why I think it's great that he wrote on December 28th. He wrote a post called "Tips on Buying an Older Home." That's a great customer for him because if you buy a brand new home, you're probably not likely to need a plumber pretty soon.
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
So his best customer isn't just somebody who owns a home, but it's somebody who owns a home that might already be in need of some maintenance, right? So these are some of the thought processes that you as a business owner listening today, this is some of the stuff that you need to do. Build a profile of who your buyer is. Think about the people that you've done business with that have been the best customers that you've had. You made them happy, you were able to meet their needs, they paid your bill, and it was a profitable deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Josh, you got to weigh in here. You're looking at me with that, you got that look in your eye, like you got something to contribute.
Well, I always have something to contribute.
Neither of us doubts that.
So
It's just that you got to get us to shut up long enough.
here's my thought, and this is backing up just a little bit, but I still think that people, small business owners, default to selling their customers. And they feel required in their blog posts to, have the blog post be about them. And what you have to understand about content marketing, content is king. Content is not marketing. It's not marketing lingo. It's not trying to sell somebody on how amazing you are. Content and content marketing both is all about helping your customer with what they have. So it's all about them. So if you need ideas for your blog posts, ask your customers, what did you wonder before you used my service? What were you searching for?
Excellent advice.
And on that note, if you don't personally interact frequently, and I mean day to day with your customers, talk to the people in your business that do. If it's frontline customer service staff, if it's a salesperson, find out the questions that your customers are asking your business.
Yeah.
And those are great topics because I guarantee if they're asking your customer service staff or your salespeople, they're asking Google. And so that's a great set of topics. In the world of content creation, I used to advise people a lot of times to write content that's useful. Very much like what you just said. But I have changed the question that we ask. I don't ask about content, is this useful anymore? I ask the question, will this get used? Because that's a very different question, right? I might say, yeah, that's useful. I mean, that's useful to know. But asking the question, will this get used, is a new standard. That's like a higher standard, and that's a place that we're trying to take all of the content that we produce. Is will people actually use this? Are they going to get so fired up about it that they're going to say to their friend or their peer or their colleague or their coworker, whoever, hey, look what I found. This is cool. Yeah. So that's kind of the standard that I'm going for. So I love the usefulness content, but I'm just saying let's even elevate it a little bit further.
Well, I think part of it is what Josh is saying is one great way in which you can measure is this useful is you ask your customers, and ask them up front. What did you need to know? What would you have found useful? What would you find useful now, even going forward? I mean, that's golden input you can get there.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So that is where would someone take this content? All right. So we talked about blogging. Blogging is one place. What else could a business owner do with content like that?
If you hate writing, you could record YouTube videos. You just still need to embed them on your blog,
right,
on your website, and write a paragraph that summarizes what you said. And then link to your, let's bring up a topic here. Let's talk about landing pages.
Whoa, you just got technical on us.
Well, so I would think it would be a tragedy, in my opinion, to work hard and write blog posts, record videos, put them on your blog, and not get the SEO value that you can get out of it.
SEO?
So
let's explain what that acronym means for somebody who,
SEO.
I mean, most of us know, but maybe we don't.
It's search engine optimization, and a lot of people use that as a strategy for growing their entire business. I don't look at it as that. It's kind of the foundation for where you start in your online marketing for your business, and then you build off of that. But you have to have the right SEO foundation. You can't really build your marketing strategy around it, but there are implications that SEO has in everything you do online. You just need to know enough about it to be smart about it. So when you're writing a blog post, I don't have a single blog post on my website that doesn't link to other internal pages on my website. And it uses keywords, which we mentioned last week.
We talked about anchor text, right?
Anchor text. If you missed it, go back and listen to it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So if we're talking about plumbers, there should be a paragraph either at the beginning or the end, or if there's a place where you integrate, you know, let's say you're talking about the best plumbers in Sarasota. We'll use that example. Maybe that's the title of your how to find the best plumber in Sarasota, which I would highly recommend that be written. So then one of the words could be, or one of the paragraphs, one of the sentences in the paragraph should be, so how do you find the best plumber? I see he's already done that. So
Earlier this week, cheap, affordable, good plumber in Sarasota. There's the blog post right there.
oh wow, that sounds like it came from Google. Yeah, some people are searching for that.
Absolutely, they are, sure.
So I just did best plumber in Sarasota. Third one that comes up, Wimpy's Dependable Plumbing.
I love it.
That's where the blog pays off.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So go ahead.
But here's the value of that you might be with. Don't just write a blog post about it. Link to your homepage if that's your main money. If your homepage is all about Sarasota plumbing, or if you have a separate landing page for Sarasota and a separate one for Bradenton, which I highly encourage if you have 2 to 3 different markets, then you link best plumber in Sarasota to your Sarasota landing page or your homepage or whatever. It needs to be in the paragraph below the video or in the content. You have to do it every post. Link to your landing pages.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not getting the SEO value out of those blog posts that you could be.
Absolutely. So I'm going to send Bubba and his team a copy of this podcast episode
Right.
and say, hey, here you go. And I think they'll find this useful. I hope.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I wanted to ask you guys something. What about as far as you're the owner? Yeah, you don't really write much, although you know, I think Bubba's proved that I think if you want to, you can.
He's definitely he's just a hardworking guy. You gotta love him. You know, he's cranking
absolutely.
him out. Yep.
And I clearly underestimated him on that count. I thought he'd have Michael do it maybe. And so don't underestimate yourself as a business owner, one,
Sure.
in being able to do a simple, basic, regular blog post. It doesn't have to be a long fellow, you know, it's just got to be informational. You know, some grammar and punctuation is helpful. But what do you guys think about, you know, if you're a company, say, it's not me, I don't really want to, but you know, you have 10 employees.
Sure.
Well, so you have 10 different potential content providers. And you got to be careful. They might provide you with information. You might find in there somebody who can actually handle a lot of who is a good writer, somebody who's comfortable in front of a camera. If you don't want to be, a lot of business owners want to be the face of their company, and that's good and right. But if that's not you, what do you guys think about, you know, really searching your existing potential content providers that you already have on payroll?
Absolutely. I often recommend that very tactic to businesses, and you know, even though my team and we're in the content business, you know, we do this for people. Oftentimes I'll tell them, look, there's going to be a limit to the value we can provide that is sometimes best achieved by someone inside your organization who's got their thumb on the pulse of what's going on, who has a much better feel for your customers or your clients. I mean, we do what we do, and there's science and there's art that we incorporate into what we do. But man, if you guys as a business can write your own stuff, shoot your own videos, do all that kind of stuff, you know, there's this perception that it has to be perfect, and just get started. Absolutely, just get started. When you start seeing the new leads and the prospects coming into your business as a result, which is what happened with Wimpy's Plumbing, Wimpy's Dependable Plumbing, they're getting several new leads a week just because he writes a blog post.
And see, this is, to me, this is what's so critical about this conversation. And I love the fact that we can use a plumbing service, because there's hardly anything more basic in a small business in a community than a plumbing company. Every community of any size has a lot of them. Plumbing companies are rarely big. They're almost always smaller operations. And so, I mean, you don't have national plumbing companies, but a few, and there's actually one that's headquartered in Sarasota. But really, even then, they're not, I mean, tiny percentage of the market. So
Right.
It's completely fragmented, even on a local basis, it's completely fragmented. But it's been around forever. It's not a high-tech industry. You don't have to be techie to be in it. They're generally hardworking guys, etc. They have a lot of interaction. And the fact is that while this sounds like, oh, this is all geeky, this is all tech stuff, no, this has worked, demonstrably worked in dollar signs and customers for this small local plumbing company. It works.
Oh yeah.
It does. No question.
Right.
I mean, you want to be the leader in your market.
You do. The only thing is, I say,
A great way to do it.
part of it is you've got to commit to it. And
Yeah.
you're saying that Bubba's doing it on every week. You've got to commit to it. Either one of you want to address how Google handles that. If it's not getting too far off on an SEO conversation, but the regularity of posting a blog as opposed, you can't post 3 in a week and then take off a month type thing.
I mean, you can. It's not the end of the world. They're not going to punish your rankings. But the best strategy to use, and it is well known, is to consistently publish content. And it doesn't have to be every week. It really doesn't. If you're doing nothing right now, start with once a month. But put it on the calendar. Either get somebody who's responsible for making sure it gets published each, if you're not the one that stays on top of things, if you're not very good at staying organized, and it's okay to admit that. Find the person who is good at staying organized and say, make sure we get a blog post out. Whether you're outsourcing it, whether you're having employees do it, you have to push publish on those posts on a regular basis, or you're not.
So let's talk about where we do it. So because we're talking about what we do and we're talking about how often we do it. Where should this be happening?
Where you're talking about on the interweb?
Yeah, on the interwebs. Where is the publish button? What are we doing here?
Well, I mean, for most businesses, I highly recommend WordPress, as
Absolutely.
both of you do. But if you're stuck on some other content management system, do I need to stop there? If you have to call your web designer to make a change to your website, you
need a different setup.
You need a different setup.
podcast.
Yeah.
But yes.
But you don't use that as an excuse to not start.
Correct.
You can set up a blog on your website that's blog.wimpysplumbing.com, right? Instead of wimpysplumbing.com/blog, you can set that up and have it be hosted by WordPress.com, WordPress.org, any number of content management systems that have blogs embedded in them. You can still have it be a part of your website. You just link to it.
So the reason that we're big fans of WordPress, and we are usually by that referring not to WordPress.com, but to the software that you find at WordPress.org. It's software. It's something you can have complete control over. So at WordPress.com, you can go start a blog and you can be blogging in like 5 minutes. It doesn't take long. You can go get your account set up and it's easy and it's free. But there are limits to what you can do at WordPress.com. You don't have control as complete control, that is, over the look and feel. You can certainly select themes and all that kind of stuff. But when you have your own WordPress site that you control and it's hosted on your own hosting account, which we can even talk about that. Maybe we should do an episode on how to get started with WordPress. But
yeah,
you've got your own WordPress site. It's running in a platform that you control. It's in a hosting account that you have access to, and it's on your domain name in some form or fashion. You were talking about a subdomain version like blog.yourdomain.com, or a subfolder version, which is like yourdomain.com/blog.
Yeah.
Both of those are fine. And if you are using that, you have the ability to completely control the real estate on the page. So what happens when people find a blog post in a Google search result, they come back to the page, they're going to see, just like what happens here on Wimpy's Plumbing, their whole site's running WordPress. So when someone lands here, prominently featured at the top of the page is a phone number that is clickable from a smartphone that someone can literally just hit the button right now and dial Wimpy's. And you know what? If I find that he's helping me fix my leak, or he's giving me some good advice about buying a home or whatever, he's won my trust.
Yeah, and so you build that trust factor, you build the legitimacy, but all of that also builds where you'll show up on Google. We're talking, so I wanted to just make sure that those were combined in people's minds, that you're getting more than one effect out of doing this regularly. And that is that, so people, look, one of the things you would search for is, I need a good plumber in Sarasota. Sure. You search that, Wimpy's Dependable Plumbing, a very small operation comes right near the top of the Google search. And there are dozens of plumbers in Sarasota.
And many of them quite a bit bigger than Wimpy. So what I like about that strategy is that, okay, it's good. We understand that people are going to search for your business type in your location, especially if they need a local business. So plumber, Sarasota, for example.
Right.
Then we know that they're going to run that kind of search. But what's happened as more of us have, like, I know you guys are Siri fans, so you guys both have iPhones.
No, I'm not a Siri fan. I'm sorry.
I fired Siri in my previous iPhone because she mouthed off to me, and I
She's
just
so bad about
she
that.
is. And then when I got
She's so
the
sarcastic.
when I got the 5, I rehired her on a temporary basis, and we're in this sort of probationary period with her.
I see.
I
Okay.
text with her a lot, and she's been okay with that.
So I have.
Siri is a software on iPhone.
Oh yeah, people know who that is. I mean, seriously.
I just don't want anybody to think that I'm
kidding.
texting with a woman, not my wife here.
Yeah. Have you ever asked Siri to marry you?
No.
Oh, you should. Now that is an amusing thing to do with Siri. So Josh has Siri. I, on the other hand, can say, "Okay, Google."
Hi Siri, will you marry me?
That's sweet. Is there anything else I can help you with?
And often she'll have different answers, so you can ask her again. I, on the other hand, can say, "Okay, Google." Okay,
Oh, look at that, it didn't work.
it didn't because I just turned it off. Okay, Google. Dependable plumbing in Sarasota.
Here is Whippy's Dependable Plumbing, Inc.
All right, so I didn't even search for their name.
Right. Although you
I did say dependable.
you did.
Yeah,
so
that's
so that's cheating. So
Try
do
best plumber.
best plumber.
Okay.
Good plumber. Or
Okay.
respectable plumber.
Okay, Google. Best plumber in Sarasota.
Here are the listings for plumber.
All right, so it's showing me a set of results, which is probably pretty similar, and there they are in the third position.
Third position,
You know,
yeah.
so but this is not the only thing people do. So okay, Google. What do I do if my faucet is leaking? And the reason I'm running this search, by the way, is because this is the kind of stuff that people are doing more and more now that we have the ability to talk to our phones, whether we're talking to Siri or whether we're using OK Google. Mobile search, and it just started again because I said OK Google. Now it'll do it again. This is what we're doing now. We're asking more direct questions, and this was a change that Google started to implement about 2 years or so ago, where they really began to reward websites that answered questions.
Yeah. They'll actually feature the answer to the question a lot of times in the search results without you having to click through the page.
Which is what they call the knowledge graph. That's
Yeah.
where Google shows you the answer. And of course, some website publishers have been a little upset about that because now
Yeah.
Google is stealing traffic. But at the end of the day, they're actually not stealing traffic, and we have some data to support that. But my point is that people are treating search engines differently than we used to. We used to do just plumber or Sarasota. Now we might actually search for a problem specifically.
Right.
And this is why it's so important to answer the actual questions your customers are asking.
Right.
Because they're going to ask Google. And if you have a blog post that almost exactly matches the phrasing of your customer's question, guess what? You're more likely to get that traffic.
So 2 things there. One is, of course, you're searching it on a mobile phone, so it's going to also be looking locally for you.
Which also happens on desktop, but less so.
And then the second thing is something we haven't mentioned, and you guys weigh in on it how you want. I don't know why I feel like Josh might have diverging opinion, but the use of keywords in a blog post to help with the SEO, because you just touched on it. If you're using these words, if you have a post that's similar to that or whatever, and you did it, you said, now we said you were cheating by saying
I cheated a little
right, but there is a use of keywords. That concept and keywords are those things that people would typically search for when they are searching for something related to your company that you want to come up. So you use those keywords regularly in posts, and then that helps your SEO, your search engine optimization, which means it helps you rise up higher on Google input.
Well, we can talk a lot about SEO. We should probably do.
We will.
It's integrated into almost everything we're going to probably talk about.
Yeah, it'll come up regularly.
So and
That's why
can-
we have you here, Josh.
Yeah.
That's not the only reason, Josh.
Okay. So, where were you going with that question?
Well, I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on it. I think keywords are useful, helpful, and need to do it. And that's something that, that our small business owners that are listening to this, that are wanting to try it on their own, should be aware of the importance of it.
Well,
and finding their keywords and using them with some regularity in their blog posts.
Yeah, I mean, there's a free tool called Google Keyword Planner, and you can also do just a Google search for keyword tool, and there's several free ones that are out there. what I like about Keyword Planner from Google is it will actually show you how many people are searching for each recommended search term.
Are you referring to the one that's in the AdWords interface?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to have a Google AdWords account to have access. They used to have a publicly available version, but I think they shut that down. So now you actually have to have an AdWords account. You don't have to be spending money.
Bad Google. Why would you do that?
Well, because it was getting scraped by other people, as we know. So meaning that other people were stealing their data. So Google makes that tool available. You don't have to be spending money with AdWords,
No.
but you just have to have a Google AdWords account, and you can find it in there. And it shows relative competition as well. So if you find a keyword phrase that is being searched frequently, but that has a lower competition number, meaning that there are fewer websites competing for that traffic, then you have low-hanging fruit. That's something you can go after, and you should write a blog post about it.
Well, and if you do okay, so let's say it's plumber. It's plumber in Sarasota, or just the Google search for best plumber, because a lot of times people aren't putting in the city names anymore.
Sure, yeah. Who's the best plumber, right?
You know, you're gonna see Google's gonna give you a whole bunch of related search terms to that, and a lot of them are actually gonna be long phrases. And I think most business owners still subscribe to I find traffic because I rank for plumber in Sarasota or plumber in Bradenton.
This is a huge misconception.
And you need to get out of that mindset and realize people are searching for hundreds of thousands of things that could actually be related to your business. And you need to go out and create content for essentially all of those things.
That's excellent. Give us specific on that you can think of.
Well, I mean, for a plumber, it's going to be how do I, fix the, how do I fix my toilet, or my kitchen sink is leaking. How do I fix that?
You'll find, these long phrases. And on this point, here's what we find. If you have a tool like Google Analytics where you're evaluating the traffic coming into your website, of course, they're hiding more of this from us, but your keyword data is very telling. What we find is that often those short keyword phrases, like let's say plumber in Sarasota or best plumber in Sarasota or whatever that phrase might be, those we think of as, man, we get a lot of traffic out of that. But when you have a site that you've been blogging on for a while and you've created a fair amount of content, you remember Google's a text machine, so it does nothing but devour text. And so as you create more and more, the traffic that you get from these longer searches, like you're talking about, Josh, with a long, quite a few words in the search itself, you may only get 1 or 2 visits a month from that long search, but you might have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of those that are producing 1 or 2 visits a month.
Yeah.
And they far eclipse the traffic you're getting. So everybody fights over the short keyword phrase, like that guy's beating me for, plumber in Sarasota, and he's a jerk, and he rips his customers off, and I'm upset about that. And so they fight over it.
A new SEO company, right? You don't.
No, you don't, because what you need to do is kick his tail on the long tail.
Right.
Which is, the concept we're talking about.
And here's my strategy. Here's what I use. I use the blog for long tail keyword content. And in every single blog, I will link to those short money phrases and link to the landing pages that I want. So if I did a post on how do you fix a leaky faucet, then I obviously write the entire post. Somewhere in that post, I would link to plumber in Sarasota as text in the blog post and link to my homepage or my Sarasota landing page.
And the reason you're linking to your homepage or your Sarasota page for that phrase is what?
So I can rank for it.
Right. And that page has content on it. Like, so for example, you wouldn't link to a page that didn't mention Sarasota.
Correct.
You wouldn't link to a page that didn't mention the word plumber, like our example last week.
It does need to be relevant.
So the content on that page should match. You should have if you're using a short keyword phrase like that and you're linking to it, that phrase should appear on that page.
Absolutely.
Maybe even more than once.
Yeah.
And that's where, so you shouldn't stuff keywords into your blog posts, I guess is what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
Write naturally, write organically, try to answer your questions. One of the things that I advise people to is just write conversationally rather than trying to stuff keywords into there. But do the linking that you're talking about, Josh, and that will, what does that do to the landing page that you're referring to, like the Sarasota page, if there was such a page?
Well, the more you do it, the more Google says, this is the page about plumbing in Sarasota. And all these, even if they're internal blog posts linking to it, you're telling Google over and over and over again, if somebody searches for this term, this is where they should go. And Google listens to that because they're going to see you as authoritative because you write more posts on a regular basis than your competition. and they see that Google's in the business of helping customers find the best businesses or the best answers to what they're asking.
That's right.
And you just have to provide that.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing. We have to think about what Google's business proposition is. The only
Don't be evil.
well, okay, so they have that.
Don't part.
Yeah,
I
but,
think that's horrible.
but here's what they exist to do. The search engine anyway exists purely to provide the best quality results to the person running the search. And so if Google ceases to do that, we're going to move on to a different search engine. Am I right?
Right.
Yeah.
So this is the reason for Penguin and Panda and Hummingbird and all of the other changes that Google has made, is they're continually trying to improve the quality of the results they provide to people when they run searches.
And they're doing a good job.
They really are, as frustrating as it can be. Yeah.
This is how they grew. This is who they are. They've stuck with the core there, and they're not planning to lose market share.
All right, so we've talked about blogging as one of the ways to distribute. We've talked about the fact that you use WordPress, the software from WordPress. You're going to get the best results with that. And you know, today, if you ask virtually any web developer about WordPress, they're going to know exactly what you mean, and they're going to be able to help you with that. And so, you know, it's not like this is hard to find. In fact, WordPress today powers something like, let's well over this by now, I'm sure, but the last number I saw was like something like 20% of the World Wide Web is powered by WordPress today. So
That's pretty impressive.
And let's mention another one too. If you're, because WordPress, as easy as it is, it's still there's a certain amount of technicality to it. So if you need to get started right away with just a blog and you need a platform because your site is stuck on some other technology you can't edit, use WordPress.com. It's the fastest way to set up a subdomain, blog.yourdomain.com, and start blogging. And that's the important thing. You don't get stuck on the details. You don't get stuck in the design phase for 2 months. You just start creating content.
in fact, it can be ugly. I mean, you know, just crank out the text. And the beauty of starting with WordPress.com is that when you do have WordPress that you control, you can just export all your content, move it over. I mean, it really does work beautifully.
You can even use Tumblr.
You
can export from Tumblr and some of these other things. So let's while we're talking about WordPress, because I think there's some other good alternatives out there.
Okay.
Particularly Squarespace. I don't know if any of you have an experience with that.
I think they should become a sponsor of our show myself. But yeah, go ahead.
They're great. Well, they're super easy and they're a little bit more user friendly than WordPress.org. You don't have to find a hosting company. You can go straight to Squarespace.com, sign up. I think it's something like $10 a month. It includes a blog in it, just like WordPress. Hundreds of designs that you can choose from. It's because it's a closed environment, which we don't need to talk too much about that.
Sure.
But they kind of like Apple controls everything that they release on their platform. It makes it a little bit more user friendly for people when it's their first time, and they're actually trying to maybe create the website themselves. They're on a budget, whatnot.
And you can do it in an evening if you really wanted to crank out a website on Squarespace. Man, they've got designs already ready. Click, 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 click. Sign up. Get your stuff going. You know, and start blogging, and you're in business. And you can even sell. They have an e-commerce platform. I think it's a little bit more money, but you can sell stuff directly there if that makes sense.
Yeah,
for your business. All right, so these are all really good ideas, but I think I don't want to miss the real point of all of this. Okay, yeah, all right, so you're getting traffic because you're answering customers' questions. You are pushing out content, whether it's YouTube or Tumblr or WordPress or wherever it may be, and you're doing this in order to kind of put some bait out there in front of the search engine traffic so that you can get the search engine traffic. But that's not the be-all, end-all of content marketing. I mean, this is what we would talk about as maybe step one in content marketing. Am I right?
Well, absolutely, and I don't think we can get into it today. But I mean, it is just the beginning. But you have to start here.
So,
and I think on that point, sorry, I trying to remember if it was Edison or whoever that said, because Josh has touched on it a couple times here, that the main reason people fail is because they don't start. And so, I mean, just start. However simple it needs to be, just get started. And frankly, if you find some success, but then you realize, you know what, I need to transfer it over, that sort of thing, and you need to do that, that's all very doable. And if you need to hire, you know, somebody to do that, there are plenty of people, including at this table, that can migrate data to a new website, But get started. Don't put it off, because what Wimpy's Dependable Plumbing has shown is if you don't do it, you're losing customers to your competitors.
Absolutely. And you have to stick with it too. It's a long-term
Start
strategy.
it and commit.
You may see results right away, but I don't tell most of my clients
No.
that. I tell them just keep at it. Over time, Google's going to start seeing that you're a regular contributor of content to their machine, and they're going to start rewarding you for that. But I mean, you got to think at least commit to a year before you say, forget this whole content marketing thing.
Right.
Absolutely, and it may even take 90 days before you see anything measurably happening.
Yeah.
And that's not unusual for search engine optimization strategies in general, but with blogging, it depends on the landscape, it depends on your business, it depends on how long you've had your domain. There's a lot of other factors that will determine how quickly you see a result. But let's talk about connecting the dots for a minute. I know we're not going to get into detail on this, but one of the things that you would do potentially if you're Wimpy's Plumbing, for example, and you've got a landing page that talks about plumbing in Sarasota or being the best plumber in Sarasota, on that landing page, you're going to try to close the deal in some way. And so this is what we talk about as a lead generating strategy. So one of the things that Wimpy's could do, for example, is they could develop the ultimate homeowner's maintenance guide and make it available for free on that landing page, but they're not going to give it away to every visitor. Instead, they're going to require that the visitor provide them an email address.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a lead generating strategy because and here's what I like about that particular one, although I just made it up off the top of my head, is that it fits with their target demographic. People who own homes, maybe older homes that might require some maintenance, right? And they should talk about everything under the sun that they can reliably talk about with any expertise as homeowners or experienced people. In other words, the book isn't all about plumbing. It's a PDF, it's an ebook, they download it, and your customers download it, and maybe it talks about how often should you grease your garage door,
So I hear that hasn't been working as well as of late.
Okay, so tell me why.
People want quick, more digestible content than that. So for example, they might say 7 reasons
Yeah, I was just
you
gonna say.
might not need a plumber in your email. 7 things you can do before you call Wimpy's.
Oh, that would be a good one.
And have that
Absolutely.
pop up as they're leaving. So if they're like they haven't converted yet, they haven't called, and they're starting to leave the website, 7 reasons I might not want to call a plumber. Yeah, I was kind of thinking I might not want to call a plumber. Sure, I'll give them my
I'd
email.
rather not.
Or it could be another version of that, which is our home maintenance tip of the week email, right? So then
That's good.
now I'm not going to download a massive ebook that I'm not going to read, but I'm just going to know that Bubba's going to send me a tip every week.
Yeah.
And it's going to be short and sweet. And I mean, you write that into
I
the
don't have time to delete it, but it's easy
Yeah.
to read a little tweet.
But I mean, that's not your main call to action either. Your main call to action is
Of
call
course.
Right.
Bubba's now.
Of
Right,
course,
but
but
if you're going to lose that, offer them something,
Yeah.
you grab an email, then you have an email.
because maybe they don't really need a plumber today. Maybe they're thinking about later when I do this project, I'm going to need a plumber, and they're just doing the research ahead of time. Well, this gives them a way to connect with you, gives you their email address, which you don't abuse, but you definitely follow up with
Right.
in an automated
You
fashion.
don't give it away.
No, of course not. And by the way, while we're on that topic, you don't ever buy email lists either. I think we should do a podcast on that.
Yeah.
I cannot believe how often I run across people who think they can just buy an email list like you used to be able to buy a mailing list. Oh, please, if someone's trying to sell you email addresses, run. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. So I think we have a couple of tools to talk about. I think we should hit the tool of the week. Should we start with the practical tool of the week or the other tool of the
Let's
week?
start with the practical one. So if you don't want to write or create content, or you're trying to take it up a level and you want to start doing things like infographics or list posts, and you just don't have the time as a business owner, you're just getting started on this, there's a lot of content platforms out there. The best one I know of that you can just a la carte choose things that you want to have an expert write about or create for you is CopyPress. It's copypress.com, and you can browse what they have available. You can choose your industry. You can narrow it down by topic even, and they'll match you with a writer for your specific project. So it's not that you work with the same person every single time, because you might be writing about different things each time. But they'll find an expert in your industry and get you connected with them, get you started. So you still need to know how to generate ideas for your content. But I think after this post, or this podcast, there should be plenty of ideas, questions that you can start answering for your customers. And this is how you can either take it to the next level or get started if you don't have the time, and you just pay per post. It's not a monthly agreement or anything like that. There are some alternatives that offer that, but it's all a la carte. So
Excellent. Hey, and I like it. I'll check it out. On that note, BuzzSumo was the tool last week
to help you find out what's great shareable content already out there. For
So-
you.
There's a
so
story coming. I
my
think.
wife was we write content as well, so what we do is a little bit more of a premium service, and than what you're gonna find on like a copy press. So last time my wife was in a scramble looking for, we had a client she owed a blog post to, so she was looking for an idea, so she hit me up for an idea. And she said, all right, I need an idea for so-and-so. And I said, okay, open your web browser, type in BuzzSumo. And so I had her type in a couple of keyword searches, and we actually found some really great viral content that had been written that was completely inappropriate that we would not use. But she also found, it wasn't that inappropriate. It was kind of funny, actually. I don't know if I should tell the story. I'll probably get in trouble if I do, so I won't. So, yeah, let's not. See, the voice of reason. Josh, you'll learn, buddy. Anyway, no. But she did. We found a great topic, and it was something that was in the news. It was a recent scientific discovery. And it hadn't made it across our radar otherwise, but it had kind of generated a little bit of buzz. And so she cranked out a post on that topic, and it had great source material that was linked to in some of the other content that had been shared. And so she was able to kind of create a really valuable piece of content. And of course, it required a couple of searches, so it wasn't like right off the top. But I love the tool of the week idea because, I'm already benefiting from it. So I want to thank you for last week's tool.
You're welcome.
And so last week's other tool, I guess we'll find out in a couple of days how that tool does. But Rod, you have an other tool for this week?
Yeah, and I think I can focus on it now that they've slipped a little bit. I have a mild case of OCD, and when you have one sleeve up and one sleeve down, you are messing up my mind, bro.
I like this.
I'm just
I
saying.
like it a
It's
lot.
just a
I
mild
appreciate
case,
you
but-
sharing this with
It's a
me.
mild case. But you can't play with me too much because it's obvious I know where you live. I'm sitting in your kitchen here, your dining room. All right,
Fair enough.
So the other tool of the week, though, is, and I'm not, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, does a lot of great stuff and all. But this year, there was a major fall down on the flu virus. The scientists, they pick the strains, they predict, and this is supposed to be a science. I think there's probably a lot of guesswork involved and all. Maybe
You're talking about the vaccine,
guesswork.
right?
The flu vaccine.
Yeah.
Each year, when everybody says, get a flu shot, get a flu shot. Personally, I get a flu shot every year. I get the flu every year. So I don't know. My wife says, see, it works. So I don't know what to say.
You're a great testimonial for
I am.
the
I
flu.
am.
And this is on your mind
It's
because
on my mind because I had the flu this week, and if you hear it in my voice, that's what it is. I had a really bad case of the flu this week, but obviously I am not alone on this. The flu vaccine is normally 60 to 65% effective, which interestingly is not as high as I thought it would be. That means that a third of the people who get a flu shot get the flu bad enough to still have to go through to a doctor or a hospital to get over it. So that's in an average season.
and that's based on reported cases. What you're talking
Right.
about, there's a very important metric because we
Yes.
can't measure the number of people.
But
You
I never
just
go to
get the
doctor
flu.
if I can help
Right.
it. I mean, I have a susceptibility to pneumonia, and so things in my chest can go to pneumonia. So I will go to the
You gotta
doctor at
watch
that point, right?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm
Because that's a leading cause of death from the flu is pneumonia.
absolutely
Right,
You
yeah.
don't die from the flu; you die from conflict. But this year, the effectiveness of the flu vaccine is 23%, which is really bad. Now, I don't know how the accountability works for that. The CDC is federal government, so there probably isn't any accountability. But
We just make the numbers up.
Yeah,
it's a lot
whatever.
like the unemployment numbers. Yeah.
Exactly. And all the anecdotal evidence from around here and everything here is that it's a terrible flu season.
And by the way, that applies to whoever's in power, not just the
No,
president
that's
administration.
definitely
I'm not.
bipartisan.
I'm not being political per se with that statement. I'm just talking about the fact that you just make it all up.
Bipartisan, nonpartisan. That's my tool of the week. I would say a sub-tool of that would be somebody like New York Mayor de Blasio, the commissar now of New York City, who wants to mandate the flu vaccine for preschoolers and all because he knows better than their parents do, of course, what's good for them. When it's 23% effective. So there's a tool and a sub-tool of the week.
And there can be complications from the vaccine. I mean, that's another side of this story that
You really actually can get the flu from it, and you can get some bad things. Now, those are small percentages, but it's real.
yeah, if you're dealing with large numbers of the population, this thing still is a big win. You do the vaccine because the vaccine also
Just not
protects you. Well, it also protects you against like H1N1 and a couple of other strains that are maybe not the predominant strain for this year. Which, by the way, they predict this based on what happens in the southern hemisphere.
You guys are passionate about this.
Yeah, well, when you have the flu as many times as I have, and you have kids who've had the flu as many times as I have, because this flu, I was the last one in the house to get it.
Why
It went
was he
through
here?
everybody.
I'm just grateful he got over it before he came over.
I wasn't going to come over if I thought I was contagious, so I'm pretty sure I'm not contagious. You know,
Cool. We're gonna burn everything you touched while
Probably
you're.
good call.
Okay, so action steps before we go.
All right. Action steps.
I
So
just touched your piece.
don't. That was not fair. I'm pulling down one of my sleeves over that. So, action steps for this week. First of all, should someone get the flu vaccine, or is it too late? I mean, this year is it
Well,
out of the shot?
official of them says you can get it up through the spring.
Okay.
No,
You know,
not action steps for the flu vaccine.
yeah, that's what they say.
I'm just starting with the
That's
we're
what they
going
say.
in reverse
I
order.
would say this year, don't. But
All right.
I'm not a
Get
doctor.
started on your content marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Start and commit. That would be the two key words from this. You know, take the simple steps we've outlined, but start and commit.
Put it on your calendar.
Got to do it. If you want results, got to do it.
All right. Well, guys, great show today. I want to say thank you to both of you. A lot of good content today. And if you're in the audience, we want to hear from you. And so we want to have you come by thegrowthshow.com. This is episode 2, so thegrowthshow.com/002. Make a comment, ask your question. If you have a question about anything we've talked about this week or last week, we will try to tackle it on an upcoming episode.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
we'll
We'd
also,
love to hear.
yeah, we'll interact in the comments, Twitter. We have lots of other ways for you to interact with us. So I want to encourage you to please let us know what you would like to hear about next. And we'll be looking forward to addressing more excellent growth topics to help you maximize your revenue and profits on upcoming shows.
Excellent.
Yeah, talk to you next week, guys.
All right.
Okay, 55 minutes today.
Man, we can't get it.
No.
We can't get it.
That's all right. It was fun. I'll take the heat. I will. Actually, it's okay. You know, 55 minutes is not. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I
It's
know we're
not.
shooting for 45, but
Right.
what?
We'll get there, hopefully.
Yeah.
Get to 45.
I'll say, so we have got to put on the next, on our list of podcast ideas, how to get started blogging on WordPress. Whichever one of you guys mentioned that I wrote down, that's a great one, how to get started. Maybe not next week since we were all over it this week, but at some point, how to get started blogging on WordPress. Boom.
Cool. All right.
Very practical.
If you watched,
Yeah.
we thank you. Tune in next time for the exciting conclusion of